Testing, testing, testing. I'm gonna have to log on. Can I log on and log back in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Uncle Marv podcast. I am your host, Marvin B., and I am coming at you live from Fort Lauderdale. Just to let everybody know, we are going to be joined shortly by Jim McGyver Gallo. He is in the midst of getting some audio set up, so he will join us in just a few minutes. But I wanted to go ahead and start the show and make sure that nobody was waiting around and wondering where we were. So here we are. And why don't we go ahead and start with a couple of announcements. Some of you that attended Palm Beach Atlantic College may have received an invite from a Miss Amy Coons. The class of 91 Zoom Union is going to be hosted by her next Friday, May 23rd. I do not know the time. I know it's a Zoom meeting, and I know that it's not an actual meeting on the Facebook. I don't think that she sent out actual invitations. This is one of those events where you need to be in the know. So for those of you that know Amy Coons, I'm letting you know that she is hosting a Zoom Union next Friday night. So you'll want to go to her page and look for that. It is the PBA class of 91 Zoom Union. I just found the time. It is May 23rd, 7 p.m. Florida time. And for those of you who don't understand what Florida time is, we're actually talking Eastern, not Island. So there is a big difference there. So 7 p.m. next Friday, Zoom Union. Go to her Facebook page, find the link, join in when the Zoom meeting begins. I have no idea how long it'll go. I believe that it is a untimed event. So that means that as long as people are willing to hang out and chat, and as long as nobody gets openly drunk and sloshed, she'll keep the meeting going. I'm sure she will have a bouncer and kick anybody out that gets unruly or isn't a PBA alum or isn't a friend of a PBA alum or a friend of a friend of a friend. So, all right. So let's see what else is going on. So while we're waiting for Jim, I wanted to say that this is officially the 10th episode of the Uncle Marv podcast, and McGyver and I are going to be on just kind of doing a quick review, see how things are going. Wanted to catch up with him. Jim is going to probably be one of the more regular guests on the show. I don't know how much that's going to be. He and I have not determined how often it'll be. Probably it'll be whenever somebody doesn't want to be a guest and I want to chat, but hopefully it'll be a lot more than that. I know that, let's see, there are some other events coming up. One of the things that I will say about Jim when he gets on is we are going to be celebrating his birthday. So I have a song for him, and I know that there are some other birthdays. I know that we're not going to make this kind of like a regular thing where I get on here and say happy birthday to everybody. But I also did want to recognize that one of the upcoming birthdays, Bob Elliott, whose birthday is on the 20th, is going to be, instead of celebrating his birthday, he is doing a fundraiser. So if you want to wish a happy birthday to him, be sure to go to his birthday feed and click on his fundraiser. And I'm trying to pull it up right now. That's why I'm stalling a little bit. Here it is. His fundraiser is the I Can Living and Learning Center, Inc. And he says, I've chosen this nonprofit because their mission means a lot to me. and I hope you'll consider contributing as a way to celebrate with me. Every little bit will help me reach my goal. I've included information about ICANN Living and Learning Center below to create lasting support and advocacy for people living with disabilities such that they are presented with opportunities to find dignified independence and gainful employment. So that is Bob Elliott's fundraiser. Again, his birthday is on the 20th, and he has left 2 weeks for you to help him reach his goal. It's only $250. So I think that that should be something that we can support him with. I will put in a donation here in a little bit. I won't do it on air because that'll take away from the show. So, all right. So just saying hello to Yuli, who is in the chat, and Todd, OC Shoemaker. You'll remember Todd from our last podcast this past Tuesday. Todd, how are you doing? And Yuli has been on from time to time, Yuli of Satellite Beach fame. Okay, so let us move along here. Let's see. I think that is it for the announcements. Except that, well, here's a big announcement. This July 4th, if everything ends up being back to normal, meaning that we are allowed to travel around the world and South Florida comes out of lockdown, which next week we will be allowed to enter phase 1 with the rest of the world. So we will be able to have places that are open to 25 or 50% capacity, depending on which sector of the industry that you work in. Still no hospitality, and things like gyms and barbershops, salons, things like that will start to open up. I think some restaurants will be opening up, but again, it will be in limited capacity. But I say that to say this, that July 3rd, 4th weekend, I should be in Louisiana, where we will be having a family reunion. I've already talked to Matt Rainey. He thinks that he's going to make a road trip up to where we'll be. I won't tell everybody where we're going to be because I don't need you all swarming down on me. But for those of you that are part of the B family, the Thomas family, the Hayes family, we will be having a reunion there in Louisiana. And it looks like McGyver has entered the green room. So I'm going to get him in the show here. And there he is, Mac.
I try to get my mic working. It ain't working. We'll go with this. We'll go with this. Next time I'll have it set up. I am not actually very technically.
You're a performer. You're an artist. You know, other people worry about the tech stuff for you.
I can't see anybody's comments, so if somebody comments, you have to
sign
language to me.
Yeah, we just had a couple of people pop in and say hello. Nothing too significant. So I just announced that, we've got a couple of events. We've got a Palm Beach Atlantic Zoom Union coming up where Amy is hosting a Zoom event. Talked about the fact that this summer, July 4th, we're going to be hosting the Bees, Hayes, Thomas family reunion that I'm helping my mom put together. So we're doing that in Louisiana. That's July 4th weekend.
No, and I see a whole bunch of this stuff. Everybody's connecting. Actually, it's sometimes easier to connect, right?
Yep. Well, that's what I'm doing. That's how this started. But let's do this. So let me see if I didn't set this up ahead of time. So tell me if you can hear this. No, you can't. I probably have all the additional music turned off while we do the show. Let's see. The joys of going live.
Yeah. All good. It's not like we can go out and do anything, although it's starting to open up a little bit.
Can you hear that?
No, I can hear music, but can't tell what it is.
Oh, it's just a little happy birthday song.
Oh, I don't celebrate birthdays anymore. I have a new religion, and it's strictly forbidden.
Yeah, I see that. You yanked it off the Facebook, and
Yeah,
that's what happens when you're a popular professor. You got hair like McGyver, and what was that
yeah.
guy's name from Roundhouse? The guy Lorenzo Lamas.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No, I don't. I don't celebrate. I mean, the kids had a cake for me last night, and one Jack sang. Clayton was like, "I'm not singing," so he just stood there.
by
So
himself.
yeah, yeah. He just stood there. No, they all. He just stood there and watched. Jack and BJ sang. No candles. Obviously, they have too many candles.
Mm. All right. So I will say that sometime in the month of May, McGyver had a birthday,
Yes.
or will have a birthday.
I mean, you can tell people now. It's after the fact. May 15th, yesterday.
It was yesterday.
I talked to a lot of people too. It was funny because now if people get on this, they're like, "Why didn't you say anything yesterday?" What they would just chatting. I never mentioned it. They never mentioned it, and so I may be in a little trouble.
It happens. Hey, I didn't celebrate things for like 10 years. Remember,
I mean,
even you and I were on a break for a while.
yeah, true.
I don't remember how long that was. It was like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I mean, I as you get older, every day is kind of like a birthday, right? I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, I'm up. I'm headed to work. All's good.
I got to put my mask on. I'm done with the mask. I am over. I'm over the mask. Actually, other than for to look good and cool to wear, I like masks, right? But I've been watching people, and I'm like, from my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, the mask is to protect, like, from if I wear the mask, it's to protect others from me, right? From sneezing on them, right? Because you have it over your mouth and nose, right?
Yeah.
So logically, right? If I'm sick and I stay home, there's no chances of me sneezing on anybody.
Correct.
And the mask itself, I'm thinking, I'm looking at it, going, wait a minute, I'm like, the mask only covers. Wait, where's my cool mask? Well, here's what did I do?
Yeah, you probably don't have a regular mask. You probably got some.
Oh no, you can't go regular.
Some 1940s
cool.
Army veteran.
Yeah, you got to have a cool mask. I have cool masks. I don't know what I do with my cool mask. I had it out so I could show. Anyway, I don't see anymore. Unless maybe Jack's wearing it around the house or something. I don't know. But
Well, you're not supposed to share the mask either.
Huh?
You're not supposed to share the mask.
You're not supposed to share the mask?
No.
I only got one for the entire family. We share it.
Well, that's not good. What if what if one of you is a carrier and you don't know it? They're asymptomatic.
So look. So see,
you're passing it around amongst each other.
See.
Yeah.
Now this you wear, but here's the deal: if you wear this out, and somebody sneezes in you, guess what? You got it in your eyes. That's even worse.
Well, it depends on how you contract.
My point is, if people who are sick stay home, because the whole 6 feet thing, from my understanding, is so when somebody sneezes, 6 feet away is a good distance if somebody sneezes.
Well, listen, I'm not going to get into all the politics of 6 feet,
No, there's no
10 feet.
Oh no, I don't.
Lingering air.
I don't talk politics. I was just trying to think of when I'm seeing people walk around with the masks, and some of them are like, crooked, and some of them are like hanging off and dirty. I'm thinking, if you're sick, you should have stayed home, right? Or no?
So basically, the mask works two ways. One, there's a little bit of defense that if it is in the air and somebody near you is sneezing, somebody has sneezed or coughed or whatever, that you're not going to breathe in.
Well, then you have to wear these two.
Okay, well then.
So it doesn't get in your eyes.
I have no idea whether it affects the eyes or not. I know
Yeah,
that
it is.
it
It is.
gets on
It's
your
there's five.
hands and you're rubbing
There's
your stuff, but
yeah. There's 5 places. I was talking to. There's 5 places you can get it, and eyes are actually open, kind of open wounds, right? Your eyes are very susceptible because if you rub your eyes, so and then if somebody sneezes on you and you get it in your hair, and like me, well, maybe not you,
well, I was going
you,
to
you
say,
rub
touch
it,
your hair.
you touch your hair, so then you have to wear, a cap on your head, a hat, and then you have to wear long sleeves. I don't know. I like wearing it for fashion, not for safety.
Well, then do that
But I mean, how long do we have to wear this stuff? Because I mean, before when I'd wear it, I
until
get
people
attention.
stop dying.
Well, before when I wear it, I would get attention, and that was why that's the whole reason for me wearing it. Now when I wear it, nobody even notices.
So don't wear it, and you'll get noticed, and somebody might come up and punch you in the face for for not helping.
Well, I was actually I had this on. I was in Home Depot, and I was walking down the aisle, and I kind of moved around a box and literally got probably within like 4 feet of this gentleman. And I kept walking, and he like freaked out, and he goes 6 feet, 6 feet, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I just kept walking by, but I'm like, I'm not even sick, but anyway, I'm just like, when is it going to get a little bit back to normal? I just want, I don't know.
Well, you guys should notice you guys entered phase 1 last week.
What now?
You guys entered phase 1 last week where you guys are allowed to go out and about. And
yeah, but they're still saying everything's going to be different. And I'm thinking, how is it, what is it going to look like?
We don't know.
Yeah. It's like crazy. But I do like wearing masks. I have a whole bunch of them.
Well, I have just the basic mask for when I go into a closed and confined space. I don't wear it, in the car, or if I'm just, walking from the car to the store, I don't wear it, and I put it on when I get to the door.
Yeah, I'll obviously I don't wear it in the car, unless I want to mess with people.
Well, unless you have guests in the car, but I'm not transporting anybody.
Yeah, but if I'm not sneezing.
No, but if you're with other people, not your family, you're transporting, a friend, a coworker, a student, and you don't know where they've been, you all should wear masks to help protect each other and feel safe.
But if I'm not sneezing.
Doesn't matter if you're not sneezing. You're forgetting the asymptomatic stuff. You can just be breathing. As we talk and as we breathe, stuff goes in and out all the time.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know it was airborne. I thought it had to be like particles.
No, there is an airborne component. They don't know to what extent.
Oh,
they can't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they've talked about. There's been a couple of studies where people inside of hospitals, when they did the tracking of not just air particles, I don't know how they tested the mist or whatever, but people in the hallways could still see, because what they did was they did something where they could light up. How you can do smoke tests,
right?
And see, when somebody talks and see the breath coming out. There have been a couple of studies, and I don't know how real or true, because I didn't go and verify them myself and check the agency that put them in, but they said that people could have been in their room sick and the airborne stuff was still getting into the hallway. So
yeah, I could probably maybe understand that in a hospital. I would think that if it was truly airborne, it would be a whole bunch more people with this illness than we have. But
well, I think that's why the whole stay home, social distance, to minimize as much as possible. There's no way that our country, let alone the world, everybody would stay home for, let's say, even one day. Do we even think that people will not be on the street for one day?
yeah, I mean, I guess no, I like I said, I don't talk politics. I'm just more talking medical and safety and stuff. Um, lost my train of thought.
Well, even medical, if you were to just leave it at medical, the doctors themselves are, having discrepancies on what they see and what they
Yeah,
don't, because, doctors in New York, of course, are having, triage every single day, whereas Clay County, Florida, you know,
yeah, and there's
has
also
having no issues.
I saw some studies. Actually, one it was in California. One was actually in New York. In New York, they say actually, and like I said, if you guys are watching this, don't. This is just. I'm not. This is not factual. Right? You never know what you hear. But I've heard two different California that in New York, actually 2 million people actually were exposed to it and have no symptoms. California was like the same. They said millions had it and they didn't even know, and they never showed any symptoms, which is kind of scary because you're kind of like a carrier walking around. But if you put those numbers in, I mean, a lot. Somebody was saying, a doctor was like, eventually, almost all of us will have it. The question is, they didn't want everybody to have it at the same time.
Right. It's just like every other disease that we've had in the world. If everybody tries to compare it to the flu. Everybody reacts differently to the flu. Everybody's, probably had the flu at some point in time. The question is, how did it affect you? And some people, it probably, it's the same way with the cold. Some people can have a little sniffle and that's their cold, where other people are bedridden for, days.
And I can tell you, I'm constantly in trouble at Publix. Constantly.
Because you're walking in without a mask?
I'm walking the wrong damn. I'll pay attention.
Oh, you're walking the wrong way down the aisle.
So I'll go in, get my stuff, and then walk back out. And they were like, "You're going the wrong." I'm like, "Oh," I was like,
"Yeah, one way. Just treat it like a one-way street."
But is that going to be forever?
No, that won't be forever. That won't be forever. It'll probably be for a while, until, like, for instance, I'm looking at the numbers. So Florida yesterday had a total of 42 deaths, which is pretty good because we were in the hundreds for quite some time. Broward County only had 5. St. Lucie County had 1.
And most of them are old, right? Like 70.
I didn't look at. I don't have, at least where I'm at now. I can't pull up those statistics. I
think majority. It's like if you're over age of 70 with a medical condition.
Well, I'll be honest with you. Here, no. Let me. For instance, let me look up the Broward numbers, because they had, when they did the sourcing, there's an app where it showed how many people, between what age bracket died. And the average age wasn't that high. The average age was like 46.
Yeah, but medical conditions, though. You got to throw that in there.
Yeah, but I'm talking about just deaths. I mean, the medical condition. Yeah. Because that's the thing, is that other people were having the COVID, and.
Because I think that's what Sweden did. Sweden just isolated their vulnerable.
Well, which we tried to do, but then people started dying in the nursing homes and everybody flipped up.
Well, a nursing home should have probably been the first focus. You know what? Clamp them down. Nobody in, nobody out. I think if they would have focused on the first line of attack, nursing home, get everybody what they,
Yeah, but they couldn't. They were getting, some of them were getting sued though, because a nursing home wouldn't let somebody in, and then they were like, "Oh."
No, I meant like procedures, like like almost like a hospital level, because nursing home. I don't know if you ever walked in a nursing home. A lot of nursing homes, I'm looking, going, okay, I don't know, maybe prison may be nicer than this, right? I think if nursing homes were to get up to the hospital standards, right, and maybe monitor anybody coming in, coming out, giving people I think that would have probably helped the older generation.
Who's going to pay for that?
No, you don't. It's just procedures. Who's going to pay for everybody not working? We are. You are. We're all going to pay, which is fine. I don't mind paying for others. But that's a whole heck of a lot cheaper than a hospital. I mean, think about it. Having security, having. I was just thinking, when we look back, it's like, which I hope they do. I mean, think about this. What if this was a real fatal, like 20 or 30, like Ebola, or 30 or 40% death rate? We would have been in trouble. I think hopefully we learned something from all this. But I am ready. I am, me. I'm not an introvert, so I need to get out there and socialize.
Yeah, but you also don't believe all the facts.
Yeah, no, I believe all the facts. I looked at all the facts, and it's a dangerous. I guess the looking back, right? Because and maybe the data has changed, but when I looked at it before, obviously everybody can die from this thing, but the people that were most vulnerable, which you think about it makes sense, older people and people with medical conditions. I mean, even without this illness, they're more vulnerable, right? So when somebody has a terminal illness or diabetes, any type of illness, even the flu is dangerous. So my point is could we have spent more time focusing on those individuals first compared to healthy? That's all I guess my big takeaway is maybe we didn't spend as much time taking care of the people who needed it. That's all. I mean,
Here's what I think. I think the fact that immune systems play a big part of it, whether you're old or not.
Yeah.
So older people have more susceptible immune issues. I think that, for instance, people that are just normally sick with things like the flu, pneumonia, but otherwise consider themselves healthy, that a lot of those people died from complications with coronavirus. And, the argument is, well, what killed them, pneumonia or coronavirus? We don't know.
Right.
And I think that's where part of the argument will be at some point is, how do we distinguish that? How do we trace back what the actual issues were? I think that some of the stuff too, when it comes to just simple oral hygiene, in the sense of people washing their hands, people
you
doing
hit the nail on the head. We, the only thing that can change this is us, right? We need to change our behavior, right? I look back now at things that I've done, going to Disney and on hands on railings and picking shit up. I look at things differently. If we, as the population, humans, right? I guess more like Japan or whatever. We're not this social distancing aspect, is it? Because ultimately, I don't think, for many other reasons, but if we can do better, like you just said, wash your hands, don't touch your face. If you're sick, stay home. But here's the problem. A lot of employers, right, they have sick leave policies. Employers are going to have to look at their sick leave policies differently now. I know at universities, how do you deal now? You want to, in a sense, encourage people, right, if they're sick, not to come into work. But as you know, and I know, we've been around, probably 80-90% of people will be truthful, but a lot of people then will use that to their advantage.
We have the mentality in this country that if you're not sick enough to you're showing symptoms or on your deathbed, you go to work.
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
And we're going to have to change that. We're also going to have to change this mentality of, one of the big problems that came out early, that, when we talked about, who is susceptible to this, Well, the fact that the younger people were thinking that, well, I'm not going to have an issue with it. I'm going to go and do whatever I was doing before, not take any precautions, but yet they would be around those people
Right.
and they would be the carriers. So there was no respect for your impact on other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And like, and that's how this thing spread. It spread by us, right?
yep,
And while the government can can help, right? I know hospital, blah, 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 it's our individual responsibility, right? To either self isolate, to I haven't seen my mom. I haven't gone up to see my mom in a couple of months, right? She's 83. She's healthy, but she's 83, right? So I'm taking that responsibility. If more people, were to do that, wash your hands. If you're sick and sneezing, don't go to Home Depot. Um, we focus on the sick people first in terms of like you said, the immune system, right? So old people as well as people who are fighting illnesses, all of them have lower immune systems. They're susceptible to this type of illness. I guess my thought is I think we'd be in a better position than we are now, and maybe we wouldn't have to shut down. Publix is open, Walmart's open. A lot of the places are still open. It's only certain places that are not. Would we have had to have the level of social impact and isolation if we had done some initial things differently at the beginning?
well, I'm obviously looking back, we can point to things that, yes, there are things we could have done. There are things that if we weren't so polarized, with politics,
Yeah, this
regardless
should
of whether
this should
you're,
yeah this should not be a politic issue.
but everything becomes a political issue. If it wasn't it's political, it's medical, where we don't know who to trust. Whether it's a doctor in New York or it's some internet troll, saying that they have secret information out of China, in the Wuhan province and what they've done. Um, it's well, it's just like the flu, and more people have died from the flu each year than from this, and so trying
Yeah,
to keep things in some sort of relative perspective.
yeah.
It's we have a tendency, and I'm not going to say it. I can only speak to what I've seen.
Uh-huh.
Is that people really just don't care
Yeah.
until it affects them.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. It's and even specialists too have gotten it wrong. Doctors. You see some of the doctors who it's not going to affect us. Do not wear a mask if you're healthy. Now wear a mask. There's a lot of it's like, okay, we need to figure this stuff out. Either we, beginning, what's it, Fauci, whatever, was saying, do not wear a mask. Doctors coming out, and he's like, if you're not sick, do not wear a mask. Within like 2 or 3 weeks, okay, everybody wears a mask. I'm like,
Yep.
okay, what you need to get on the same page here.
Yeah, but I think it's tough when you're dealing with something of this scale,
True.
because and out of an abundance of caution, a lot of these things were done. Now, is there proof that everybody wearing a mask is going to slow this down? We're only going to find out down the road. We think that it is because the numbers are coming down, but is it because people are actually adhering to it, or is it because the first wave, is kind of finally, whatever it was, if it was 72 hours that most people can get over the flu, well, maybe it's 14 days that everybody can kind of get over this. So,
Yeah, my gut is, everything. I'm sure in some cases, in certain situations, masks make a difference. But I think it's the overall behavior change that people need to make, right?
well, everything is a behavior change. Let's translate this off of coronavirus, and let's talk about let's just say the economy in general, because everybody is harping on the fact that our economy was, hammered by this. Part of it is because, and I'll just take me for example. So part of what I've been dealing with in the tech community is other tech companies, other consultants, other, MSPs, which are managed service providers. As soon as this thing hit and the government started offering the payroll protection money and started offering the EIDL money, the stimulus checks, I mean, there were people that literally were saying that they could not survive 1 month. And my thought is, okay, why do you not have a savings fund, whether it's personal or business wise? I think that's another fundamental change that we need to do in this country where, this whole idea of paycheck to paycheck living is acceptable to where,
Absolutely.
so even without a coronavirus, if you can't survive, and I'm just going to use 1 month, because I think that, people need to be able to survive 1 month if, not just, you don't have a job, but what if, you have an accident, you just get regular sick or something happens. I have it set up, and luckily enough, Kim and I are in a good position where, we could probably go 6 months on the house. So our personal, we can survive 6 months. The business, I can probably survive 2 to 3 months. Now that fluctuates because it depends on what projects I've got coming in, and
right.
I try to keep it at 3 months. So I knew that if I didn't get a check from a customer from a certain day forward, I've got 3 months that, I can survive. But it was interesting hearing how some people were like, well, I can't make it through next payroll. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Do you not have, any sort of savings? Do you not have a line of credit? How did you not prepare for something like this? And and I didn't want it to be accusatory.
Yeah,
no, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I completely 100% agree. And it's this concept of, and I see this a lot with my students who, or someone getting ready to graduate, and I'm, some questions like, so how much money, do you need to make? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, you're getting ready to graduate, and it's like it was like, well, either my parents or the government, or I have 2 people I know up here in Port St. Lucie, lost their jobs, but now they actually make more money. They don't want to go back to work because their unemployment checks now are higher than what they were making before. And they were like, well, we're just going to do this. I'm like, no, you can't just do that. Well, why not? Government's just sending me money. I'm like, this is not sustainable for you to now make. I mean, now granted, they weren't making a lot of money to begin with, right? And that's a whole other episode, right? But the concept of not saving, right, for when you're out of work, and then relying on the government for an extended amount of time. I think the government should be there to help when you are out or you need or something issue. I don't think it's meant to just provide financial resources for no reason, just because you don't want to work.
Right.
And unfortunately there's people out there that, and how do you, I guess the most complicated thing is, how do you just, like, so when they send out the checks, everybody got the checks based on it, but some people were still working. They didn't need the checks.
Right. I didn't want to check. We haven't gotten it. We've not gotten ours, and I'm okay with not getting mine.
Well, yeah, but I mean, some people got checks and they were still working.
Right.
So we need to figure that out, because that's not. I mean,
well, it's just with the payroll protection check, there were companies that got it that didn't need it, but they took it anyway.
And then, but some of them got outed for it and gave it back.
Yeah, and they should.
Not all of them, though. I'm sure the small, the ones that are not a big name and people don't know, I'm sure they just took the money.
Oh yeah, there's probably hundreds of millions that went undetected because the numbers, they didn't get 10 million.
Yeah, but the mindset, I agree. Jack, do you want to say hi?
Yes.
Hi, Jack wants to say hi. Come in.
Hey, Jack, what's up?
I'm doing good.
How are you, sir? It's been a while. Do you remember me?
Yeah, where?
What do you mean?
From where?
Where's he at?
Where are you at?
I'm in Fort Lauderdale.
You are?
Yep, I'm at my office.
Just like you.
That's a fancy office with a fireplace. His office is much nicer and bigger than mine, right? Jack, I'm asking you.
Oh.
Is his office bigger than mine? Look.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you actually text my stick?
Huh? When I'm done here, I'll check it.
Okay.
All right.
You let me know when you're done.
Okay. I made him a stick.
Oh. A walking stick?
No, it's part of autism. It's funny because Clayton and Jack kind of follows Clayton, but Clayton used to walk around the yard with a stick, and he just do this. With his mouth.
Like a divining rod type stick?
Yeah, it's not. But I mean, for like, I'm gonna show you. I'll show you. It's like, and then he makes them, and he gets like, he gets sticks in the yard, and then I help him put them together. So he has this long stick, and then he walks it around, and just moves it. So it's some sort of stimulation that he gets.
Okay.
And he, as you can see, I keep telling him. Obviously, I'm not an engineer, but I know. So big, right, to small. Well, he wanted to put this big one here, which is over the small one, and it kept. I'm like, well, Jack, and he kept asking me to do something. So finally, I was like, you know what? I'll put some glue on it. So that's why he keeps checking. I was like, it's going to be 2 hours before it's done.
Oh, okay.
So he's there's glue in there, sticking the small one into the big one, and then he puts feathers. See, there's feathers on the end.
Okay.
So it's some sort of stimulation for him.
He doesn't understand the concept of balance, though, because that's
not
front heavy.
No. I was explaining for a while he was doing them himself, right? And he puts he puts a hole in it, and I guess finally he was having a hard time, and he asked my help. So I went out to my workshop. I had a drawing, and he was like, "Oh my God!" He was like, "You're a master stick maker." And I go, and I would put this. I put the colored tape on it, and now obviously he every day he's asking me to do something with his stick. But now I'm the master. I'm the expert in making sticks. Just so everybody knows, if anybody's watching, if you need a stick, I can call me. I know how to put them together.
So let me ask this, because I'm sure. So obviously, some of my listeners who don't know you don't know that you have autistic children. How old is they're both 16 or 17?
17.
They're 17. Okay, yeah. So they're the same age as Aiden. And Aiden's my nephew, who is on some level of ADD, ADHD, and he's on the, I don't know if it's the low or high end of the autistic spectrum. I should probably say that. He's got a little bit of Asperger in him. I don't know all the degrees there, but now, is it just Jack that has it, or does Clayton have any symptoms as well?
Jack is autistic. Clayton, a level of Asperger.
Okay.
Not severe, but I look at I look back at a lot of my friends, and I was like, I think they have Asperger's. Sometimes because you have friends that are kind of maybe socially, sometimes I don't want to call it awkward, and sometimes maybe people we think of that as them as introverts or they have so he's kind of at that level.
Right.
But
how early did you know? You and I have not talked about this. Like, how early did they get diagnosed with this?
So I had suspicions. I guess like 2 years in, when they weren't talking yet.
Okay.
Or something. They were, it was like a noticeable difference than other kids in their age in terms of speech. So I think around when they were 3 or 4, we I think all agreed, all right, something's going on. We went down to Dan Marino Foundation and a couple of different places, and they would diagnose. Because remember, they were preemies. They were born at 29 weeks, just over 2 pounds each. So initially, they thought it was the what do you call it? Delayed something. There's a term for preemies that were in they were in ICU for like 7 weeks. So that's why we when they weren't speaking, we kind of were told or kind of understood. Well, because they're delayed, they weren't only 29 weeks. So that's why. So it was somewhere between probably 3 and 5 that kind of got an official diagnosis. What about Aiden?
So I know Aiden was also a preemie. He actually had to be. They had to have the emergency C-section. I think he was about 29 weeks. I don't remember exactly. And I don't think he's been he's high functioning. He's, outside of, having a little social issues, he's actually close to normal, I should say. So
who's normal nowadays? What is the definition of normal?
Well, he needs a little help. Most of us that can interact socially and understand social cues on our own, I would say that's the baseline for normal. Now, whether or not you choose to act within the social norms, that's a little different. Things are much different these days than when you and I grew up.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because Jack, he doesn't get social skills at all, and he actually doesn't seem to be bothered by it because he doesn't understand any of it. Clayton, on the other hand, is a little different. He understands. So there's different challenges.
Mm.
Yeah. Now, so is Aiden? He's going to be a senior next year. Or did you guys hold? Did they hold him back? I wanted to hold our 2 back, but we ended up deciding not to.
No, he didn't get held back. So let's see. He was born. I don't know. I think he's going to be I'll have to go back and ask. He's either a junior or senior.
Mine are juniors, so not next year. They're going to be seniors. It's like crazy. How?
Okay, so then they're probably the same.
I'm like, where does the time go?
Yeah.
Like,
it moves fast these days.
Yeah, it felt like just yesterday. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy.
No, Aiden his socialness basically revolves around his games. So he's got to be online every night. He's got a buddy that they will just sit from the time he gets home until the time he has to go to bed. They'll sit there and play that game and be online. And, he has no problem talking to this other boy without issues. But, you take him out of that room and force him to go outside and talk to somebody. It's a completely different thing.
It's interesting. Both of mine are extremely comfortable talking to adults.
Okay.
Right. But not kids their own age or younger. I mean, it's different. They connect well, and maybe because adults maybe understand and don't judge, because kids are it's the kids don't understand what's happening, and especially if somebody doesn't look like they're disabled or has a disability. I look back now, and I hate to say, I mean, I was never a bully. Obviously, I had friends all over, but I probably did not spend as much time with people who are around me, and because I thought they were weird. You're 13, 14 years old. Obviously, we're all way back then. We didn't know things, and now looking back, going, I don't think that person was weird. In my mind, there's one person in particular that I remember. And can't for the life of me. I actually tried to find his name, see if I could find him. Like I said, it was never mean to him, always whatever, but I never really did my extra effort.
Right.
Right. But kids, they just don't. I think kids nowadays probably have a better understanding of autism and you know mental challenges, because I don't even know if I remember anybody even talking about a mental challenge.
No, we didn't.
Autism.
We didn't, and I don't think autism was actually socially talked about or accepted even. I mean, if you were autistic back then you were kind of separated. So that's the difference now. But there's also a huge difference in what we talked about, social norms. Social media and the internet has kind of made things completely different. Whereas, our socialization had to be done in school and in a structured setting, and our parents actually disciplined us.
Yeah.
So there was a completely different environment. Whereas nowadays, there are kids that are literally running their households because they're brats and they're entitled, and they look at social media, they look at the Kardashians and think everybody acts like that, so why can't I?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously we try to have a don't do that with our kids. That being said, though, I don't live in a glass house, and if I had done probably half as much as what my one son has been, I wouldn't be here right now living. Right? I mean, you just didn't do that, right? You just, and it's like, it's frustrating and unfortunate. I don't know how we transitioned to this.
Well, we transitioned to it because some of our friends and the people after us got to the point where we didn't want to, I was okay with being disciplined. I also had a fear of disappointing my parents, disappointing teachers. I mean, I did walk the line, trust me. There's no way the stuff I did back then would fly now.
Right.
Or let me rephrase that. I probably would get away with a lot more now than I did back then. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Because I would social shame my parents or whatever. It is a weird, so where did the transition come? I think it just came from I don't want to say generation, because I don't think it's completely a generation thing. I just think that over time, as our society changed, as the world, became smaller, I think the internet has a big thing to do with it. I think the fact that we went from 3 channels to 10 channels to 30 channels to 100 channels, there's so much at our disposal now that we can see. There's other people being praised for behaviors that shouldn't be. It's funny looking. I mean, this is an extreme example. It doesn't mean what I'm going to say it means, but I look at Jim Carrey and I'm like, that dude's making $20 million a film for doing the stuff that I got spanked for.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I mean, it's and the whole, everybody gets a medal thing. And I mean, I thought you didn't get the medal. You didn't get the medal,
And it was fine. It was okay to not win.
Yeah.
And it made you strive to do better. Yeah. Whereas now, kids today don't want to strive. They're like, well, I gave it a good effort. Isn't that good enough?
Yeah.
Well, no, you didn't give it a good effort. Well, I showed up. That's good. No, that's not good either. Why don't you go and produce something? And that's where our work mentality, I mean, half of our work is people just thinking they should be able to show up and get paid.
Yeah.
Well, no, you've got to go out and produce, and there's some industries where, being able to get paid for results, is still okay, but every other industry, it's now trying to be, such a level playing field that, well, we need to give the top producer and the lowest producer a level playing field. Well, no,
No, right. Yeah.
you can't.
You can't, in the workplace, you need to be fair, right? But you can't.
Well, fair,
So,
fair is one thing.
right. So, right. And so it was, we at one point, we would have ice cream socials at my previous employer. And I remember providing free ice cream. Ice cream truck came and, one employee came to my office and was like, she's like, I'm just not happy with, the ice cream. I'm like, what are we talking about? We're not forcing you to eat ice cream, And she goes, well, when are you going to have like a vegetarian day? And I'm like, what? And she's like, so instead of ice cream, because I don't eat ice cream, can you have like, I'm like, we are not having a vegetarian day, right? It's this, like everybody has that. It was like, if you don't want to eat ice cream, just don't eat ice cream, right? I mean, we eat some other stuff, but you can't make everybody happy, right? So the whole thing is, like, if you had a company, of 1,000 employees, right, and you had 50 employees that were pissed, that's a pretty good, approval. That's 95%. What politician wouldn't want 95% approval rate, right? But sometimes companies to focus on those 50, right, and create new policies and new things to satisfy the vocal 50, which impact the 950 that were happy before.
Right.
I see that all the time in companies, policies that I'm like, oh, we have to have a new policy because this. I'm like, but no, why? Well, because I'm like, only a couple people did it. Why are we now going to impact everybody else? We need either discipline or we need to deal with the few than the masses.
Yeah.
And I think it's easier, right, just to do in policy. And I think even parents, and maybe this is what's also a thing is, well, it's easier just to kind of like, just change it rather than focusing on the one individual who needs to be, it's
easier in the sense that, obviously the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So depending on how vocal that 5% is, what do you got to do to shut up the 5%?
It's just like, and like I said, I'm not talking politics, right? But, it feels like when I'm watching the news, either it's completely left or completely right. And I'm like, okay, I'm in the middle. Most people I know are in the middle. And it seems like there's no news agency, no social, I don't know, there may be, that actually is like about 80% of the country is probably here. But the 10% on each side get all of the what do you call it, publicity or
right.
media time. I'm like, and it's frustrating because like, well, what station can you watch? It's, I don't know. Maybe I'm incorrect, but when I talk about certain things, I mean, most people I know, the agreement is like 70-80% right here.
Do you watch HGTV or DIY channel?
The Home and Garden TV.
Yeah. So you watch any of those shows, Property Brothers?
Oh yeah, stuff like that. Yeah.
Flop and all that stuff.
Yeah. So
this is how I've kind of viewed it. So the wife is going to disagree. So if she ever hears this, we're going to, So, when they're doing their house tours or they're doing their renovations and they're talking about, buyers want this, and it's always about the high end, the kitchen has to be completely redone. Oh, we just can't live with this, and everything has to be a quartz countertop and, high end cabinets and finishes. And, this floor that's 10 years old, it's got to go, it's dated. And it's got to be open concept because we love to entertain. Well, the image that's being presented is that everybody has to have an open house, new, open concept, new house, because everybody wants to entertain. And my philosophy has always been, well, everybody can't entertain.
Right, yeah.
Because even if you do a round robin approach, not every person can entertain all the time. So not every house has to be what they're being presented. And I don't know what the viewership of HGTV is, but my guess it's probably less, than 30 million. Let's just say, whenever we talk about, American Idol, 30 million viewers, I'm like, okay, that's 30 million people. Our country has 330 million. So there's 300 million other people that you don't know if they subscribe to that or not.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, I can't wait to downsize. My goal, either a condo on the beach or a couple acres someplace. I have a 3-car garage that I can't put a car in. One of my neighbors came up to me the other day and was like, "Are you ever gonna put your cars in your garage?" I'm like, "Cars in the garage? Are they supposed to be in there?" I'm like, I can't wait. I need to downsize. Like you said, either like a 5-10 acre or on the beach. I'm thinking leaning towards on the beach.
Okay, did you say downsize to 5 or 10 acres?
I mean land, just like land, little house.
Okay, but do you know how small do you think 5 to 10 acres is?
Well, 5 acres. What I mean is, I just want room to roam. I don't need shit, right? A little tiny house, or no, not with BJ. We'd have to have our own. BJ would have to have our own tiny house. 2 tiny houses, one for BJ and Jellybean, and then one for me and the. But what I meant is, the size of the house, so to speak, right?
Yeah, but
I'd rather have a small. Now I'm looking back, I would have rather have a smaller house on a bigger piece of land.
Okay, that's a better way to say it.
Yeah. No, and most obviously land is just forest. I don't want to not build an amusement park or anything.
Yeah, but you gotta be able to fit the pool in there.
Well, yeah, we're on
Your mega pool.
a mega pool. My pool's actually not that big. It's a nice pool. It's actually relatively small comparatively. I think.
No, my pool is much smaller than yours.
What's your?
It's less than 15,000 gallons.
Mine's 10.
Yours is not.
Mine's 10.
Get out.
It's 10.
All right, we'll have to measure someday.
Yeah, because when we got it, remember I have kids, autistic, whatever. We got what we call play pool, and what play pool is it's shallow on the ends and deep in the center, and it's only because BJ.
Oh, so it's okay. So the perimeter, so the size might be the same, but
yeah, it's 28 by. So if you remember, ours is not rectangle too, right? So ours has the widest point of it is like 12 feet, and I think it's like 28 feet long. And the ends are only 4 feet, and the deepest part is 5 feet.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, because we obviously didn't know. Obviously, our boys learned how to swim, and Jack we didn't actually have to do that. We probably could have gone deeper, but even with BJ still, I mean, BJ's it's over her head in the in the center, but mine I can
Okay. Well, ours is deeper at the end, so I don't know what the exact measurements are, but we typically characterize it as a 15 by 30 oval, but it's actually more like a bean shape. But we don't have a real shallow end. I mean, the shallow end is probably 3.5 feet when you step in, and then it goes to, I think it's 7 feet.
Yeah, no, yours. I mean, just 15 by 30 is larger because ours is not 15 by 30 because it's like a how it's shaped. So the 15 is only maybe a 3 or 4 feet within the pool, and then it goes smaller.
All right, we have to look at it because maybe I just assumed since you built that big space mountain on the side of it.
Well, we do have a nice water slide.
Right.
That the adults use.
Yeah, we don't have
jump off the rocks. We have now stopped that at all parties.
Really? No rock jumping?
No. Yeah, we had an incident.
Oh.
Yeah, I had an incident. Yeah.
Was there adult beverages involved?
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah, adult beverages, and so officially there is no jumping off the rock waterfall during party hours.
Hmm. Yeah, we'll have to get up there. We haven't been there since the Super Bowl, I think.
Yeah, we haven't probably we haven't had a Super Bowl party in a while.
You still doing the block parties?
We have not. No, we haven't done that either.
Really?
No. I think we did have. When was it? So I still do Halloween.
Okay.
And this whole 3-car garage, as you can see, part of me having more time, I could probably walk around it. It's actually, in the past, I had to, starting in like September, completely like tear out, pull down, I mean, it took me a while to get the haunted house because I convert the entire garage into a haunted house. And so now every year it goes by, I get a little smarter. And now I'm redesigning the garage where I don't have to move anything. Like, so all of the pathways I'm keeping,
Right.
and lighting, and I mean, I guess I could probably take on a little tour. I could probably do that right now with my iPad, right? Or no?
Yeah. Well, you could.
So all right, let me see here. All right, how do I reverse the angle of the
You got to flip the camera. Don't you do the flip at the bottom? There's the reverse. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, got it. All right. So ultimately, my garage now is. So I have pathways. So the pathways are already set and designed. So when people come in, right, they go down hallways, right, and then ultimately weave around in different areas, right. So I have like different stations where I put stuff. So my workout area. So then.
I think you're at the end of the
area actually has. Oh, okay. I'll get back. So, and then they exit through this door. So they come in through the other side, and then they weave around. And then I have different stations with people who are going to scare people. I have a workstation. I typically have like blood and arms, on the toolbox. This here is going to be a refrigeration zone where it's going to look like a cooler, so you can walk in and see people hanging. But yeah, this whole garage, black lights, everything gets converted. So that's the only party we do. So this year, I don't know what Halloween is around with you guys, but it's on Saturday. So, in the past, like last year, was it Wednesday? This year was Wednesday or Thursday? I think it was Thursday because leap year. So they went to Saturday. So, obviously we're a popular house, so a lot of kids come and know the house. I mean, starting in October, if I'm outside, kids will start coming up and go, "What are you doing? What's happening? What are you making this year?" Which is kind of fun. But it's Saturday, so I'm thinking about going back to a block party, which got me on, Squirrel. Is having like a block party Halloween, maybe even do a Friday night pre-opening for kids and family. But I am going to be looking. So if you're on Facebook and you're listening or listening later, I'm looking. I'll provide free food, maybe some booze for actors this year. So I'm gonna get some actors who can work in stations to take it up a level for this year, since it's on a Saturday night.
All right.
So if you want to come up, although you have a lot of kids come to your house.
Well, we now help host the neighborhood party. So
you can't.
Yeah.
Well,
so
if we did Friday night though, right? You could come Friday or no?
Yeah, I probably could. It'll interfere with live PD, but yeah, I can come up.
You watch that live PD?
I do.
Do you? I've seen it a couple times. So what is different between live PD? Is it really live?
So, I mean, it's live, but it's delayed. So obviously there's a little bit delay, but it is live.
Yes,
So the stuff that's happening is stuff that happened that night. And what really makes it's really not, I mean, some of it's the show. I mean, it's the fact of seeing cops do stuff. For instance, let me give you an example. So last night, we had the typical, cops chasing somebody, cops, dealing with disturbances or domestic, house calls. So in Richland County, South Carolina, I forget her name, deputy, it's a female. She got called out to a dog in a sewer. So basically, she had to, jump into the really regular street sewer system. And there was a dog that was stuck in almost like the middle of the street. Like they had the sewer on each side, but the dog had crawled into the sewer. So in and of itself, you would think, okay, interesting, situation, animal lovers, save the dog. But what really makes Live PD is Live PD Nation, which is all the people that not only watch, but post on Twitter. So half of the show is watching the Twitter comments, and when criminals do stupid things, you're watching the posts of people,
that's probably pretty funny,
that are making comments and doing stuff. So literally for like 30 minutes, every tweet on Twitter was, go make sure to save the dog. Where's the fire department? Where's animal control? And then they're doing memes of sad dogs, please save my friend, and stuff like that. Somebody put on a thing with, has somebody called Sarah McLaughlin let, and they're playing those, that ASPCA music and stuff. So it's pretty funny. And then of course, the whole country is basically, rooting for everybody to save this dog. Right. It's like baby Jessica that fell down the well, but it's on steroids because it's live. People can tweet about it, and you're seeing the Twitter. And every time they would cut away, people would get pissed. They're like,
okay, so now it makes sense why I probably haven't had the same experience, because if you watch it on TV, you don't have that you may be able to see, but you can't actually right.
You can't interact. Let me try to pull up something here while we're talking. So that's pretty much, so for the longest time, my Twitter account was only directed to Live PD. I would never tell anybody my Twitter account because I didn't want to have people following me on Twitter and doing regular stuff. So I have my Twitter account that is only for Live PD. Well, now I'm going to put it on the Uncle Marv show. And I can't log in, can I? I am Uncle.
Have we had any visitors, or just two of us talking?
We've had people coming and going.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think anybody stayed on the entire time today. Here we go. Now I'm up. So I'm going to pull up. So last night, so let me go to my profile and I'll show you one of my tweets. So what got me hooked is, in the beginning, I was pretty much like everybody else. I'm like, why are we watching this? This is ridiculous. This is boring. It's cops is basically what it was. So here we go. Let me share my screen now. So you're probably not going to be able to see it. So this was one of my more active posts last night. So as they're dealing with the dog, they get the dog out and they go to another place, and I forget where the place was. It was probably something, so they have, Richland County, South Carolina, they have Clay County, Florida, they've got Raleigh, North Carolina, they've got, Massachusetts, Texas. So they go to this place, and there's a girl there who was basically getting very upset, very angry, and causing a disturbance at a pizza place because they had called in a pizza order. They get there and the pizza wasn't ready. And instead of letting the people make the pizza, she just kept getting more and more and more irate to the point where the cops were called because the building basically was going to trespass them and said, look, we know that we didn't have your pizza on time, but because you're being such a jackass, you're not getting your pizza at all now. So my tweet reads, the entire country was waiting for a dog to get rescued, and you were getting all pissed off waiting for a pizza. So I write, so the meme says, oh my God, who the hell cares? So I got retweeted twice and 11 likes, which that's a slow night for Twitter.
All right. I'm gonna have to, when does it come on?
So it's on Friday and Saturday nights, starting at 9 p.m. And sometimes it will go. They just went back to 3 hours, so it was 3 hours from 9 to 12. Yes. So they would so sometimes they're 2 hours, but they're back now to 3 hours, 9 to 12. And I mean, it's pretty funny. There are times where I'm like, the show's ending, and I'm like, crap, where did the time go? But
right.
Friday,
I'm gonna try to get on tonight. Now, will I be able to see if I you'll be able to see my post then, right?
well, yeah, if we're connected on Twitter, you gotta.
Okay. So we have to make sure we're connected.
Yeah, because here's the thing, Live PD. If you look at what's trending on Twitter, Live PD is always in the top 10 Friday and Saturday nights. So there's a lot of tweets. So when I first got started with this, like within the first month or so of tweeting, I did a meme of Oprah. And I forget what the tweet was about, but it basically was Oprah doing the holla. It got 30,000 likes.
Oh.
And
wow.
I thought, okay, I'm in. And since then, now something must have been wrong because I've never been close to 30,000 likes since, but I've had some pretty good tweets. So right now, basically my goal each night is to get 3 retweets an hour, or 3 tweets for the night. So 1 retweet every hour is my goal, because the problem is there's so many people on Twitter and so many people posting. The problem is people aren't reading the posts.
Right.
So last night when they were going through the dog, every single post was about save the dog, save about. So for like 10 minutes, there was no other tweet on Live PD. So you have to, the hashtag is Live PD, and then there's Live PD Nation, and then each police department has their own hashtag. So another reason why I got roped in is because Pasco County, Florida, was one of the most popular departments for a long time because some of the stupidest shit was happening in Pasco.
I always like this. What do they call it? That stupid criminal. That show always cracked me up. The one that
World's Dumbest Criminals.
Yeah.
So between this, I mean, there are some things. Oh yeah, it was the thing where somebody wrote. So they had, this was early on. So probably 10 minutes into the dog being rescued, they did a cutaway and they do a crime of the week, and they do a missing children's or whatever. So they did a crime of the week. And of course, everybody was like, don't go to the crime of the week. And so the post writes, excuse me, we'd like to see when they pull the dog out. Oh, so here's the other thing that happened. So, they couldn't, they could see the dog, but the dog was on its side. They could see that there was blood. The dog was hurt, but they hadn't heard the dog. And so somebody had gotten in. So she had crawled down, but she was too big to actually crawl through the rest of the sewer. So they were trying to find a sturdy pole with a dog collar on the end so they could, latch it and pull it back. So there's a guy that goes in and he's looking, he goes, I don't think that's a dog. And then, of course, the speculation is, oh, what is it? And so he's like, I think that's a fox. And so then everybody's like, okay, whatever. So then it's like the whole idea is it a dog? Is it a fox? And so Twitter goes berserk over that. So when they went to the crime of the week, the post reads, excuse me, we'd like to see when they pull the dog or fox or whatever it is out of the sewer. The crime of the week could have waited.
Yeah. That's pretty funny.
So it's pretty funny. So Twitter adds to the excitement of people trying to lay bets on, if a criminal's running, how soon will it be before they send the case?
I'm gonna get on. Text me the stuff. I'm gonna get on tonight, but we'll make sure we're connected on Twitter first.
Yeah. So I am Uncle Marv is my
Okay.
Twitter handle.
All right.
And we'll do that and we'll connect and do live PD. So on Saturdays, I only pretty much stay for the first hour unless it goes berserk.
Okay.
Friday nights is the night that, once I get done with the work week, that's my night where I just kind of don't do anything and I settle down. I'll stay all 3 hours. Saturday night, if Kim and I aren't doing anything, and right now she's actually better now, so she's up and moving around and stuff. So we'll probably be out during the afternoon and we'll settle down. But I'll usually watch the first hour and then I start flipping on Saturdays. Friday nights for some reason is hopping in the first hour of Saturday.
All right, I'll be on tonight.
Okay.
I'm gonna get on.
All right. Was that Jack coming back in the room? I saw you looking over.
Yeah, but he heard me talking. He left again.
All right. Well, we should probably go because I know we've gone for a while and he's been quite kind of patient.
Yeah, he is. But he's coming out like a few times. I can see him.
Oh, let me show you this. So let me see if I can find this one. This is pretty funny. So, most of my friends are from on the Twitter or from Live PD. Oh, I don't know if I can get it. I have it on the iPad, but I don't have it here. Shoot. I'll show you tonight when we get on.
Okay.
It's pretty funny. There's an Oprah one with Oprah crying because they put an update out. A vet found a microchip and was able to contact the owner, and the owner is en route to the emergency vet center. And so there's a meme of Oprah crying, and it's got 225 retweets and 3,037 likes.
Wow.
So, and it looks like 100 and something comments. So everybody, it's weird how people will follow up on stuff.
Hey, before we go, you got to answer the question: Marianne or Ginger?
So for a long time, it was Marianne, but now I'm starting to feel bad for Ginger.
All right, Jack just came in again. Are you ready for your stick?
Yep, are you almost done?
Yeah, we'll
right.
close out. Hey, man.
All right.
Hey, it's fun. Do it again.
That's it. We'll be good. Thanks for a lot, and we'll be in touch. And we'll have to talk because I wanted to get your feedback on the other podcast. I don't even know if you've listened.
Okay. All right. We'll chat again.
All right. Jack.
All right,
see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.